obviously when the shortlisting happens, the visuals are the first thing that, like for example, if you are around 1 lakh entries and you have to shortlist stuff and you have people sitting, so obviously, the first thing is they'll see the visuals and the first judgment will be on that. Okay.
Hmm.
They might read the sheets later, they might read the concept plans later, but yes, the first thing जिसे हम कहते हैं कि जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, so that is the thing.
Hi guys, welcome to the 6th episode of the Architecture Trap Faraway Sessions, and in today's episode we talk about the importance of visualization softwares in the field of architecture. So for this episode we have a few guests with us who have wanted to have on this show for a really long time, and it has finally been possible. We have Rajat Arora, the founder of Rajat Arora Visualizations based out of New Delhi. His firm works with architects and designers as 3D modeling and visualization consultants, and has done a tremendous amount of work. So there's more works of his on his website, which I've been linking in the description. We also have Saswata Haldar, who works as an energy efficiency modeler and a sustainability consultant based out of the United States of America, which will account for the difference in the lighting, as you can see in the video. So if you don't know about Saswata Haldar and you are from Kolkata and have visited the Quest Mall, this sculpture should throw some light on it. He worked on the software aspect of things, deciding the length of each and every stick that went into this installation, and the overall planning of the structure along with the lead designer. We also have Shubradip Roy, who is the principal architect of F19 Architects based out of New Delhi. I figured who better to talk about the field and visualization than someone who is extremely proficient in software and has been practicing as an architect for more than 10 years. So without further ado, let's just start with part 1 of the discussion, where we talk about the importance given to softwares and visualization by architects, how it impacts the field, and what are the different experiences these guys have had over the years.
So first thing that I would like to ask all of you, as someone who is a visualizer, someone who has worked with design and visualization, and someone who's like a practicing architect in Delhi, do you feel that when it comes to selling your project, visualization is probably more important than the rest of the design?
Yes, I feel that. This is the first thought that came in my mind. This is what I have seen. Like Indraneel has introduced me as a visualizer. Actually, the thing is that I am an architect turned visualizer. I worked 2 years in 2 different offices. So this is what I have been seeing everywhere, at least in the offices I worked in, and the people now I work with, the firms. So yes, for me, I think that for the layman, for the clients, 3D is the most important aspect which they seek for.
Like when you first kind of present the design, the glitz and glamour is what catches their eye first. So definitely if you have like a polished enough design, and that will definitely catch their eye and take the conversation forward rather than directly judge the technicalities, then it sometimes gets like difficult for the clients to kind of comprehend what's going on. So yeah, I would say it's super important.
What I feel is that's completely not true that visualization is the most important thing. Of course, design is the first thing that you do. Then you decide how you want to present it. Now, in last 5 to 10 years, what has happened is we have shifted from all other type of media or presentation techniques to visualization, because nowadays we have put in so much effort into visualization that it has become the new norm. But that's exactly not true. Sometimes if your design is good, then visualization, if you are lacking somewhere, like a bit there, still you can win the project. But if your design is not like speaking itself, then whatever visualization that even if you are able to do a world-class job there, it's not going to get you the project, because the clients are also getting educated.
Exactly.
For in my last 10 years of practice, I have realized that initially when you used to show the client a good visualization, then they used to fell for it. And then slowly and slowly, they also educated themselves. And now they definitely look for a good visualization because that sets you apart. That shows that how dedicated you are. But they also look into the design. They want to understand the design. So it's not only about visual aesthetics. Visualization also has to transform into a language where the client can understand.
So Shubhavida, you would say that is true for even like smaller clients, like a residential client owner.
Not exactly. See, residential client when they hire you, how do they communicate? They communicate with reference images, right? So
Exactly.
they start
Pinterest and all that.
comparing your designs and whatever you show them. They start comparing with the reference images, and if the reference images are of a very high quality, then you are supposed to make high quality images or visualizations for
Mm-hmm.
them so that they don't start comparing. They just read what you are trying to show them.
But do we ever see a reference image which is of not a very high quality?
Sometimes, see, it happens with the residential clients. Suppose you are doing an interior job, okay, and there is a particular design of a table or a chair, and the client shows you an image, and it's not of a very high quality image, but he wants the design to be read by me or the architect. So in that case, it's a very minute thing that they don't focus on the at that moment they don't focus on the image quality but the design of that particular element that they want to talk about. So in that case it happens, but uh, usually they tend to refer to nowadays they tend to refer to Pinterest images
Uh,
mostly. So and Pinterest images quality. So
mhm.
Yeah.
Like what happens, like what I have seen, like if we are targeting the residential clients and not just the residential clients, if we talk about the people here in India, mostly like the people of these small cities, not everyone right now knows Pinterest. Yes, we can say that 80% of the people are aware of it, but still 20% of the people do not know about that. So what they do is, like for example, if someone in their neighbors have done something, some interior job at their homes, so what they do is they click pictures going into their houses and they bring the same idea to the architect that this is what we are looking at कि आप कुछ ऐसा ही बना दो and हमें भी कुछ
exactly.
ऐसा ही चाहिए. So this is the thing that goes on.
That is very true, but just something that Shubhadip sir also said in terms of architects being architect having to deliver to a certain quality. So, for example, continuing the situation that we were a hypothetical situation where the client has brought you a low quality image. When you're delivering that image, do you feel a compulsion to give a high quality render, or do you feel it's okay to give them a visualization which is of not that high quality in terms of the realism of it?
See, it depends.
Exactly.
When somebody starts their own practice, right? So at
Hmm.
that moment, initially in the initial years, they tend to compete with rest of the world. So they try to create very high quality images. And as you progress with your practice, you realize that no, that's not the idea. You need to create your own set of kind of guidelines or set of signature styles. So you can see a lot of architects like Biak Engels. So
Hmm.
Biak Engels big actually has only one type of graphic quality.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So, and it doesn't mean that it is the best in the world. There are
Hmm.
far better graphic quality, but he chooses only one type of image quality or graphic style to display his design. So
Exactly.
eventually you start getting comfortable with something, and then you choose, okay, take it. This is the thing that I want. This is the way I want to represent things. So every big architectural firm has their own set of styles. But
But
yeah, there are some common styles which a lot of architects follow. So
But
it
sir,
doesn't mean
thing,
that you have to produce the high quality. As long as your uh, visualization is the client can read it, so you are okay with.
but sir, this thing which you are talking about, like we are talking about Bark Ingels, so obviously he definitely has a style of visualization and he has a style of architecture. Okay.
Right,
Similarly, if we talk about Sanjay Puri, he also has the same thing. He
right.
has a different style in both. But these architects are the one which are now very much renowned. Okay. So now whatever they do, whatever visuals they produce, people will buy them because they know that it's Bark Ingels or it's Sanjay Puri Architects. They have that name. But in the starting years, like if we talk about making a language, maybe you might lose projects because you are adamant of, keeping your own language. So
And definitely, definitely. In the starting period, I told you, no, in the starting period, we tend to compete with the world basically, okay, in
hmm,
terms of quality, so that we can improve ourselves. We can set the standard. See, there are two kinds of situations. One is when you already have a client, okay, and you are about to submit the design, okay. So that is one type of situation, and the other type is you have to go out and look for clients. So these are the two situations.
hmm,
In both cases, the quality of your graphic has to be different. It has to be different because a portfolio or a profile speaks for itself. So
exactly.
there you cannot, maybe you can produce one or two realistic kind of visualization, but then you also have to make the person understand that what kind of projects you are doing, what is the scale of the project. So a lot of information has to be provided. In that case, you choose you choose a lot of diagrams, or then you try to decide, okay, किस टाइप का डायग्राम मुझे बनाना है, मेरा डायग्राम का क्वालिटी क्या होगा, इट शुड इट बी मोनोक्रोम और कलरफुल, क्या होना चाहिए, एंड इट रिफ्लेक्ट्स योर एटीट्यूड ऑल्सो. क्योंकि
Exactly.
कभी जब डिजाइन आप दिखाते हो तो एक आध विजुअलाइजेशन में भी एनफ हो जाता है इफ इट इज अ वेरी हाई क्वालिटी,
Hmm.
बट दैट मतलब in terms of portfolio it doesn't add that much of value.
In those lines, architects sometimes have a tendency of going towards like these minimalistic diagrams and stuff,
Hmm.
so which have the least amount of color. It's like monochrome scheme and stuff. So those kind of diagrams can sometimes become difficult for an average person to understand. They might
Exactly. Hmm.
confuse something to be something else. So as Shubhradip Das said, like it's very important to actually kind of tailor your presentation according to the client and how what their understanding is, like while kind of expressing yourself to the best extent that you can, but definitely keeping in mind your client and how what kind of base they have and how much of a knowledge of architecture they already have and of reading diagrams and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
Uh,
Yeah.
important.
I can totally relate to sir because there's one of my client which does this stuff. Actually, what he does is obviously for the architects, the major purpose is to sell the design and not the visuals. Okay. So what he does, like whenever he pitches a project, it's not a big firm. More, it's a around 3 years or 4 years. It has the firm has started. So what he does is like he goes for one or two high realistic renders whenever just to pitch in the project, and after that he just shows him the basic renders whether it's on a normal software screenshots or just normal lumen quality. So because he has this aspect that I'm going to sell the design जो मुझे दिखाना था, if I have to had to pitch in, so
Hmm.
वो I have done it. Now
Yes.
I am selling my design here, so अब I don't really care that realistic हो or not. So this is what he does.
So, just continuing on the same line of thought in terms of what sells and what doesn't sell, and also continuing on since we're talking about big projects that they've done. If you look at Big's representation of the mountain dwellings or even the eight housing that they've done, the representation for that is very unique to them. The kind of diagrams that they've done, but what I feel is that if you've seen the new Toyota City that Big is doing, the representation for that was absolutely against what their style is. It wasn't minimalist. it was effectively like a cinematic release for a game trailer, right?
Right.
Just to put it very very simply, it was like a cinematic release for a game trailer. It focused on parts of the concept, yes, but more in terms of proper animation and walkthrough, and like the camera angles moving in very cinematic ways, which when you look at it, you kind of appreciate the overall effort that has gone into it. But at the same time, do you think that was a choice, or that was a necessity that Big had to do because the client was someone such as Toyota and they were making a presentation?
See, first of all, I totally appreciate the effort made by Big, because see, in architecture industry is not a very high paying job. Okay, it's like in terms of fees as compared to cinemas or movies, it's not that high paying. Okay, and someone needs to change the trend. So I felt like, okay, now things are starting. It's not that he has done it for the first time. A lot of like if you have seen the DLF के काफी सारे project है जिसमें a lot of visualizers or architects they have created a similar kind of thing, but it's not a globally approached or globally accessed thing. Okay, some local architects, they might have got access to that kind of visualization style. Then, but to an extent, what Big did was to open up a new kind of style. Okay, and whether it is necessary or not, that's a big question. See, sometimes we can choose to remain minimalistic, and sometimes we can keep adding more and more glamour. Okay, so that is up to us. That depends on the client. Okay, Toyota, I have to say that okay, if Toyota likes that kind of style, that doesn't mean that everybody will like that kind of style. So it has to depend. It has to vary. Okay, so but the like when he presented that, it was more like, okay, this is also possible. Architects can also go for this kind of thing. So that is one thing. Of course, यहाँ पे there commercials जो है, जो financial matter है, वो depend करता है, because if you are paid that much of money, you will make an effort to do that kind of job. Okay, but if you are not paid, then how you cannot afford to do that kind of job, right? So वहाँ पे it depends a lot. And right now जो अभी हमारे इकोनॉमी जिस डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है, मतलब वर्ल्ड वाइड एंड ऑल्सो इंडिया वाइज, आई डोंट थिंक कि हमारा मतलब वी विल हैव a lot more examples like this in near future.
Okay.
But do you think, Shubradip, that having a better kind of illustration, even if the budget doesn't kind of promote it, it's better for you in the long run in terms of acquiring more projects?
Yes,
And it's
yes,
worth the
yes,
investment? I think so.
Yes.
What I feel is like there are three things in terms of an architecture firm. Like first is definitely the taste of the client, like what he'll like and what he'll reject it. Secondly, the cost, if he's getting paid or not. But the third thing, which is the most important thing, which I feel is whether it's a small architect or a renowned architect. After some time, everyone should break the monotony of his or her presentation. Like that is very important, because after a time the followers, the people want to see something new. Matlab they should, it should come as an element of surprise for them, like ekdam se kuch naya dikha. So again there will be a rise jisme he'll get some more followers, or he'll be appreciated in some more sectors. But wo beach mein we have to bring that that spark. So I think that is an important thing, whether you
Yes.
have the cost or not. But in the later future, it will definitely, as in be helpful to you.
Yes.
Right. So I'll just bring the question back to Shashwata because he's currently working in the US, and so if we consider that the quality of visualization is a direct function of the amount of money in the ecosystem, uh, would you say that that is the reason that the architects in the United States of America generally have better visualization for their projects than the architects in India? Although that is a very generalized statement, but I'm talking of,
Yeah.
in average terms. Or is it a mindset, or is it a function of the mindset?
So it's actually a bit of both, I would say. Mostly what we look at from India is kind of the big firms, the SOM, Perkins& Will, and stuff like that. And they have their own standards, which they follow for all projects. And they can follow that standard for all projects because they scored the big projects. So they have already that money allocated towards all the illustration, the graphics, and everything for each project. But then if you go down the chain of like the architects here, even in the United States, you'll also see cases similar to India where people doing like small projects, they don't care that much about the visualization. Depends on the client, of course, as we were saying. So they also kind of produce those monochromatic SketchUp screenshots and stuff like that just to make the client understand. But yeah, the money is definitely a big factor because you have that budget allocated towards the architecture team, and it's kind of a package deal which they get. So you give the architect this much amount of fees and you'll get the whole package. It doesn't, for the big architects, it doesn't vary like that, that for this client, I won't be making good visualizations. It's like,
Mm.
and most of the companies, they have these kind of workflows established as well. There'll be teams like one team is designing and the other team will be parallelly making the illustrations. So for each project stages like SD, CD, DD, you'll have kind of updated visualizations along with everything else, the systems, the plans, elevations, and sections. So it's kind of a whole package bundle, which is kind of a practice, which is it's kind of followed like regularly here. I mean, it doesn't vary much with too many projects.
Yeah. And also sometimes it depends on the client also. Sometimes clients make a demand like this. Okay, if he is awarding you a project, he says, okay, I want to see on every stage, I want to see a walkthrough.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
right.
at that time you actually then balance your commercials like that. Okay.
So you
So
factor
it
it into the
depends.
cost.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So basically, because it's a demand, it's a requirement from the client side.
Uh,
Okay.
but there's one more thing which I feel like if we compare India with other nations, as in if we compare India with US or any other country, what I feel is mostly Indian architects. Like here, the main funda of pitching anything or of showing anything is basically show off. Like they in US, what I feel is they focus more on the design part, and they have everyone appointed for separate jobs. Like designers have a different panel, the visualizers have a different panel. They have a very clear system of how things will work. Okay, for a visualization only, if we talk about Zaha Hadid Architects, so the Mir Studio, which does the visualization for it, they have a separate number of people, like around 20 people are doing the shadow, 20 people are working on the model, 20 will do the final post. In India, this is not there. In India, we are looking for a Superman. Like we post jobs, like we are looking for a person who has everything. He knows SketchUp, he knows BOQ. So this is the case here. Okay. Plus, then we expect things as well. Like we need to show very high realistic visuals so that जैसे we show the visuals, the client comes in कि sir मैं तो आपसे ही कराऊंगा. So this is the case here as well.
Yeah.
Visuals are more focused than design.
But I would also agree with what Rajat said. Like, yeah, in India, it's more like, I think it's because of the budgetary constraints mostly that is the case. It's like one person has to do every single thing on the
Exactly.
planet from start to finish. And also because of like kind of like visualization softwares, they take a toll on your machine too. So you need to also have like a good enough machine, and like small architecture firms can't have like 5 of those machines just sitting around. So they'll have
Exactly.
probably one, and one person can only work on that at one point of time. So it just becomes like that kind of a deal.
Plus, on an Indian context, if we talk about, there's one more, major issue, that is piracy. Okay. So, like there are five systems running. So if they put five these lumen in all the systems, then they have this fear of being cached, okay, because they're using the pirated versions. Plus, the pirated versions which do get released doesn't give you all the benefits. Like in US, they are very strict towards these policies. Like they'll be buying it commercially, and obviously if they have bought it commercially, so there are, they have everything in the software. In the cracked version, they tell you that it is fully cracked, but actually it's not. So that is also kind of a scam that we think that it's real, but it's not. So that is the advantage that the people working in US have and not in India.
Yeah, as you
Right.
said, the piracy laws actually play a huge deal here because, like, technically, I mean, almost no firm does piracy here because it's like absolutely dangerous. You will definitely
Exactly.
get caught. Like instantly, you'll get caught. You'll get mails from Adobe or whatever, Rhinoceros or whatever, and then the next day they'll show up at your door, and yeah, you just have to pay a huge fine. So that can't work here, and because that can't work here, people, even the smaller firms, they have to get licenses from the get-go. So what happens is, as a result, everyone has like that cost factored into their business cost, so they can quote higher from the get-go, rather than like in India, what like when we graduate fresh, we start getting projects. We have all these pirate softwares on our computer, and we
Exactly.
don't actually calculate the cost of that in our business cost. So we just quote them like, okay, we'll charge rupees 5,000 for a render, but actually the software may cost you like 10,000 rupees per year or something like that. So that's not factored in from the get-go. That's also a big deal, definitely.
Right. Right. So, just to bring this whole line of conversation in terms of how important visualization is for marketing, uh, sum it up, can we all say that visualization plays a very important part of marketing, not only the project but also the firm itself? Because when just in the we had reference big as a form of their style of visualization. So as a part of conversation, when we're talking about visualization, we are referencing big, the Reacting Rules group. So, so we can all agree, I guess, on the fact that, it plays a very huge part in terms of marketing the firm as well. And in continuation to that, what I feel is, do you think, and anyone can start with this, but do you think that if we have better visualizations, we will have better marketed firms, which will lead to more Indian architects being known on the global scale?
Yeah, I think there are two aspects to it. One is, okay, you are an architect, you have your own firm, and how do you want the world to see you? Okay, so and since you said that visualizations or architectural graphics is our language, basically architect's language. So how good you are in your language? Okay,
Mhm.
so that is one part. Second, when it comes to marketing, definitely India is like lacking behind. We, if we say that okay, uh, graphic quality is important for marketing purpose. Now, uh, okay, as an architect, हम लोग क्या marketing करते हैं? हम अपना डिजाइन ही marketing करते हैं, right? So
Right,
if
right.
we अगर sometimes it helps us कि अगर कोई हमें हमारे पास बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट या प्रेस्टिजियस प्रोजेक्ट हमें मिल जाता है थ्रू अ कंपटीशन और समथिंग और कनेक्शन एनीथिंग, तो वो हमें काफी बूस्ट देता है. सो इट्स नॉट ओनली द ग्राफिक क्वालिटी ओनली, इट्स आल्सो द प्रोजेक्ट जो
Hmm.
कि हमें एक पोजीशन पे लाता है इन द मार्केट. But definitely, agar if you are given a position in the market, then people starts looking towards you. Okay, there has to be some kind of quality. Okay, some standard. तो मेरे काम में अगर किसी को पोजीशन मिला है तो उसके काम में एक स्टैंडर्ड होगा, क्वालिटी होगा. So people will
Mhm.
look for it. Okay, and young students जो है या freshers जो है या young architects जो है, उनके लिए एक रेफरेंस बनता है ये चीजें. So definitely you need to set a good example also. Okay, so that way it's very important.
What I feel is like if we talk about the marketing purpose, yes, obviously visuals are important, but as and not just we are talking about not we are not out talking about international competitions. If we talk about any competition, whether it's happening on an academic level or whatever it is, obviously when the shortlisting happens, the visuals are the first thing that, like for example, if you are around 1 lakh entries and you have to shortlist stuff and you have people sitting, so obviously, the first thing is they'll see the visuals and the first judgment will be on that. Okay.
Hmm.
They might read the sheets later, they might read the concept plans later, but yes, the first thing जिसे हम कहते हैं कि जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So that is the thing. Secondly, if we talk about the marketing stuff, like you're saying here that हमारा यहाँ पे a comparison which you are doing. So marketing stuff, what India lacks is that they might create, very good visuals at times. Okay. There are visualizers in India, very good visualizers, they can create stuff like that, which competes to the international level. But where
Right.
marketing has also two aspects. Like it's not just about the visuals. जो आपने दिखाया in the visuals, if after the execution वो नहीं बना, so obviously the marketing which you picked up at the time of showing the visuals, that will go down again if they haven't seen the same thing in the execution part. So जो वहाँ बड़ा वो वहाँ घट जाएगा. So it's like अगर they have to keep both the things balanced.
Like visual, like in terms of marketing, I would say in India, marketing happens in two, like more than two ways, of course, but major two ways I would say is one is through the visualizations, which everyone sees, which we are talking about. Second is also the word of mouth, like people, if you've done a project for someone, then that person goes and says to another one that architect did a really good job for my project, and I would recommend you to you. And then so basically it kind of spreads through that as well. So sometimes it's like visualizations may not be necessary in India, but if you're talking about the international level focus, like obviously I think you can't have word of mouth going outside the country mostly. So the visualizations there play a huge role, I would say, kind of to make other people aware and like other parts of the world that okay, this architecture firm exists, they are doing good job. And then once you get featured in suppose like Arc Daily or something, that gives you a like international audience. And in Arc Daily, of course, you need to have like good visualizations for
Right.
the readers to like to capture the readers' interest.
Exactly.
So
Mostly,
so yeah, that
yeah.
is also there. Yeah, go ahead.
Mostly competitions that happen internationally, whether it's whether it's Arc Days or whether it's any other platform, if you see any of their past entries of any competition, yeah, the first thing which attract is the visuals, and the thing which makes them a winning entry is that a little pinch of uniqueness in their visualization. It might not be just a normal max render. They might have merged the sketchy look or the illustrated look with the normal visual. So that is the thing that makes them win the competition.
Nowadays, what has happened is, especially in India, बहुत सारा glamour ऐड किया जाता है in terms of visualization. But
Exactly.
if you actually see the good quality graphics produced by architects around the world, they don't choose the glamour. Okay, they try to represent the actual quality of the material in the best possible way. So the kind it also depends on okay कि क्या चल रहा है, market trend क्या है. Nowadays, like in terms of if you are doing a developer project, definitely you will be adding a lot more glamour to your visualizations. Okay, but if you are doing some if you are designing a temple, suppose, so is the glamour going to work? Is the kind of visualization जो developers के लिए हम बनाते हैं वो काम करेगा? No, it won't. So क्या काम करेगा? So it depends on the project. It depends on the client. It depends on the kind of design that जो मतलब कॉन्सेप्ट एंड डिजाइन जो आप दिखाना चाहते हैं, इस पे अगर फोकस किया जाए तो देन एवरीथिंग is streamlined. Okay, like every time you don't have to look for a reference image. If you understand कि okay the kind of project ये है. In terms of competitions, definitely competitions में like we have seen a lot of competitions, different type of competitions, जहाँ पे हम देखते हैं कि high rise का भी competition है, and we also see कि okay slum redesign, toilet redesign. So एक toilet redesign में glamorous graphic क्या काम करेगा? Right.
Right.
It's the idea, it's the concept. उसको best way में कैसे represent कर सकते हैं?
So in terms of the glamour you're talking about, Shubradip, sometimes I've also noticed that projects which don't have much of a design value, they kind of go for this glamour to kind of mask whatever
Right.
like the lack of
Very,
like design, I would say.
yeah.
So
Yes.
that also is there. So yeah, it's kind of
Especially
a
it
like
it happens especially with housing projects.
Exactly.
exactly, that's what I was getting at. Like
And
it's we have this typical view from the corner with people walking and like buildings behind. That's like everyone does that.
this is not just in the
Yeah.
case of, housing projects. Like sir said, if we are designing a temple, like I have done projects like temples in which, the clients ask me कि यार इसमें ना थोड़ी वो you add those gods rays coming in so that it feels like, that this fits the place. So these are the common things that happens.
So exactly at that moment, यहीं पे मैं बोलूंगा एक चीज कि see अगर if we look at good quality visualizations around the world जहाँ पे इस टाइप के प्रोजेक्ट्स में टेम्पल या फिर any place of worship डिजाइन किया गया है, so the client को बोलना ही नहीं पड़ता ये चीजें, because architects or the visualizer, he knows कि okay, if I have to show the quality of the space, then I have to play with the light, and he does it in such a way, in a very clever way, so that we don't read the god rays कि चलो ये तो ऊपर से डाल दिया गया है, right?
Hmm.
बट यहाँ पे अ, हम वो जो डेप्थ है उस डेप्थ में नहीं जाते हैं मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, सो इसलिए कई बार इधर उधर से हमारे पास रिक्वेस्ट आता है कि ये डाल दो यार, ये ऐसा कर दो,
Exactly.
ओके,
Like
सो तो वहां पे वो चीजें ट्रेंड चेंज होता जाता है.
so the project which I did, usme what happened, like we designed, no doubt the design was good, and obviously it had these fields naturally only ki the god rays, and automatically they were coming in because they were openings. But the
Mhm.
client was a little different guy. He wanted ki, you just post process some pandit sitting in the area, so automatically jo ek render acha tha na, it got shit because of adding those stuff. कि इसमें दिखना चाहिए दैट पंडित दे आर प्लेइंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, कुछ वो लोग बैठे हैं, द इंडियन क्राउड इज सिटिंग, सो ऑटोमेटिकली वी डिड दैट एंड द रेंडर बिकेम शिट. सो भाई ठीक है, द क्लाइंट वांट्स इट तो ले लो, or else it was not of a very good aesthetic value, of a visual value basically.
राइट, तो यहाँ पे मैं एक चीज बोलना चाहूंगा कि सी इंडिया में लाइफ क्वालिटी इज कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट फ्रॉम वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड, राइट? सो वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में इट्स वेरी सिंपल स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड एज कम्पेयर टू इंडिया, डेफिनेटली. तो वहां पे कोई एक विजुअलाइजेशन को डिपिक्ट करना इन अ रियलिस्टिक मैनर कि चलो देयर इज समथिंग हैपनिंग, सम पीपल आर देयर, सो देयर इज अ इवेंट गोइंग ऑन, सो इट्स वेरी इजी. जहाँ पे कुछ जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एक ऑफिस बिल्डिंग है, तो ऑफिस बिल्डिंग में यू मेक पीपल सिट इन देयर टेबल्स और मेक देम वॉक, राइट? But it's completely different in terms of if you are visualizing a market scenario in India. It's completely different. You will find cows there, you will find dogs there, you will find something hanging around. Nothing is straightforward, right? So that at that moment it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So then एक realistic scenario को वहाँ पे दिखाना, it's a challenge.
It's a
राइट,
challenge
इट्स अ
actually.
चैलेंज. सो वहां पे जब नहीं दिखा पाते हैं, एंड जब हमारा विजुअलाइजेशन ऐसा होता है कि विच इज मोर ऑफ अ कि चलो एक स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड लाइनिंग है, तो पीपल कैन नॉट कनेक्ट बिकॉज दे हैव सीन दिस इंडियन मार्केट्स विच इज कम्प्लीटली इन केओस, बट हम एक विजुअलाइजेशन में एक स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड चीज, वो वेरी सिंपल एंड वेल ऑर्गेनाइज चीज दिखा रहे हैं. सो वहां पे chaos का जरूरत है. सो यहीं पे वी हैव टू ब्रिज ऑल दिस गैप्स एंड यूज द ग्राफिक्स इन मच clever and justifiable way में.
So
Exactly.
in those lines, I would say like it kind of stems from our notion like when we photograph a building, suppose we usually try to photograph it when no people are around to capture all the architectural features. So
Hmm.
that's what I think has kind of transcended into renders as well. We don't like
Mm,
placing too
right.
many people because it kind of crowds the place and it kind of overpowers the architecture, you can say. But as you were saying, if we want to make an actual realistic render, then obviously then you have to place many people around there. But I think it's kind of a style of render as well. Like I mean, if you want to highlight the architectural spaces, you can't have like 40 people just standing in front of it, then you won't be able to see anything what's going on behind there. So it's kind of like a way of representation. But yeah, if you can place the people in a clever way so that the architectural
Right.
features are still visible, and then plus you get the feel of the actual space when it's actually occupied by the amount of people it's supposed to be, then it's an accurate
Right.
depiction. But in terms of rendering, I think it's not really a Western kind of simplistic view. It's just how we kind of see the buildings, like
Exactly.
without the people. It's kind of a fundamental difference of thinking
Like
about
Hmm.
the.
like when I teach my students, like I train students in software, so what they come to me and they always say to me that, you know, whatever they design, and they say to me that, sir, हमने इसमें we put the same settings as you told us, but it's not coming, you know, realistic. So but your renders are coming realistic, but it's the same setting, so क्या दिक्कत आ रही है? So I tell them the same thing, that, you know, it's not about the settings in the render, it's about the basic कि what you see in real world आपने उसको कितना मॉडल में डाला है. Like for example, if they are making a house, ठीक है, so they, what you do, they just place a house in the overall खुला ground, open ground, और बस house
Hmm.
रखा है, there are 2 3 trees around it, and just they render it. So basically the realistic level is zero. Okay, the realistic level comes in when you show 2 3 buildings around, when you show a street, you show poles, electric poles, you show chaos in terms of people, in terms of cars, you know. And I think that on an Indian level, someone should step up and, you know, also show these kind of realities, like, you know, they can show some animals on the street and all that. Because what happens, like, if you if the project is on at a very, you know, a local place, जैसे there are, you know, all the, there are stables around or whatever, there are a lot of animals around, or a garbage area around, so, you know, what happens कि client वहां जाता है, visual देखता है, and he keeps asking again कि ये ऐसा ही बनेगा ना, ये ऐसा ही बनेगा ना, and obviously architects are lying, हाँ जी ये बिल्कुल ऐसा ही होगा, ये ऐसा होगा, but the reality is different. Okay, so
Yes.
I think someone should step in and try to bring in that much little reality as per the Indian context.
I think ये आ रहा है रजत, ये आ रहा है धीरे धीरे, because if I see in myself कि
Hmm,
ठीक है, like after 10 years of practice मैं
hmm,
क्या करना चाहूंगा, like do I want to cheat the client कि मैं कुछ ऐसा दिखा दूं and then get paid, और उसके बाद जब construction हो जाए तो they, if they compare with the visualization, then it doesn't match.
hmm,
So then I really think, okay, then what did I achieve
hmm,
actually? So in my portfolio, if I want to show that project, so what do I choose? Okay, if I choose the render, which is looking actually good, then people might think, okay, this is only a render project. It's not an actual project, right?
it's not
So
project, yeah.
yeah, so if I have to go and click a photograph of the building or the project, then I want to do a good job there. So
Hmm.
it doesn't matter whether in terms of visualization you sahi hua kya nahi.
Hmm.
Visualization only matters till you get the project.
You're absolutely right, sir. Like there's matlab the main architect, one of the renowned architects I work with is architect Gautam Bhatia. So what
Mm.
he does, like I have shown him realistic renders, and I have been working with him for the past 4 to 5 years now. So
Mhm.
he has a different kind of language. What he does, like if I show him a Max render or a, you know, Unreal Engine render, so he says that I don't want things to be so much realistic. I want
Mm.
a render to look like a render. That it's a visual made on a software. So I
Right.
appreciate that fact because he's very much clear. Like, yes, it's a render and मैं render दिखा रहा हूँ to the client. Actual, you know, the actual execution will be as it, and that will be much better than the visual I have shown. So he has a different kind of thinking.
Right. No, actually, it's not his thinking only. It's a general thinking. जो भी established architects हैं, उनका general thinking यही है कि don't show the render better than the original.
Exactly.
Okay. Don't show it. So it works psychologically. It works definitely. यहाँ पे. And also, एक there is always a purpose for a render, right? There is always a purpose. So if I want to play with materials, ठीक है, composition of material, एक wall पे या दो wall पे या whatever जो भी है, so वहाँ पे what do I do? What do I do? That's the primary question, right? कि वहाँ पे if I how do I show the material? So वहाँ पे मेरा graphic quality sketchy रहने से चल जाएगा या फिर do I have to produce the realistic kind of scenario at that moment? So it doesn't depend on the client कि client क्या agree करेगा या किस type से मैं client को दिखाऊंगा तो agree कर लेगा. It
Hmm.
also is your part of design process
Hmm.
basically. कि when you see it, जब हमारे पास अभी इतने सारे सॉफ्टवेयर्स है और स्पेशली वीरे वगैरह आने के बाद वीरे इतना एडवांस हो गया, सो इन अ स्टडी मॉडल ऑल्सो वी कैन सी द डिफरेंस कि ओके ठीक है, अगर रियलिस्टिक मटेरियल डाल दिया हमने, वहाँ पे मैपिंग डाल दिया, तो देन हाउ इट्स गोइंग टू लुक, राइट? जो कि पहले काफी डिफरेंट था. पहले वी टेंड टू प्ले विद कलर. अगर ब्रिक दिखाना है तो ब्रिक का कलर, देन ट्राई टू क्रिएट द टेक्सचर उसमें से. सो वहां से ये चीज ट्रांसफॉर्म होके हमारे पास जब टूल्स है अभी, सो वी डेफिनेटली यूज द टूल्स, बट जो फाइनल चीज होगा, जो कि पूरा डिजाइन प्रोसेस का पूरा स्टोरी लाइन दिखाएगा, उसमें उसमें कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट होता है. व्हेन यू आर एक्चुअली वर्किंग ऑन द प्रोजेक्ट, तब you tend to create a different kind of graphic, okay? And when you start documenting the project for your portfolio, maybe, so then the process is completely different. Maybe कई सारी चीजें overlap होता है. For example, the realistic render, जब क्लाइंट को पिच करने जा रहे हैं हम, तो जो रियलिस्टिक रेंडर होगा मे बी वो फाइनल पोर्टफोलियो में आएगा, बट द काइंड ऑफ ग्राफिक्स दैट यू हैव शोन टू हिम, वो नहीं आएगा, बिकॉज यू आर ऑल्सो देयर टू एक्सप्लेन द डिजाइन, बट इन योर पोर्टफोलियो नहीं, यू वोंट. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, जब फ्रेशर्स निकलते हैं कॉलेज से, तो दे हैव अ पोर्टफोलियो सेंड करते हैं, एंड एज एन एम्प्लॉयर, व्हेन वी सी द पोर्टफोलियोज, हम क्या देखना चाहते हैं, उसमें क्या देखते हैं उस चीज पे. सो वहां पे हम वही देखते हैं ना कि ओके ठीक है, प्रोसेस जो भी हो, बट फाइनल ग्राफिक क्वालिटी क्या आया है जिससे मेरे को समझ में आ रहा है डिजाइन. एंड डेफिनेटली आई एम एन आर्किटेक्ट, आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड, बट फॉर ए लेमैन द स्टैंडर्ड, द क्वालिटी, द विजुअलाइजेशन स्टाइल काफी हद तक एक ऐसे सिनेरियो को रिप्रेजेंट करना चाहिए जहाँ पे कॉमन लेमैन उसको कनेक्ट कर पाए. अगर ह्यूमन स्केल नहीं दिखा रहे किसी बिल्डिंग के साथ, तो लेमैन को नहीं पता चलेगा. सो these are the basic standards. अब ह्यूमन स्केल को दिखाने का देयर आर मल्टीपल वेज ऑफ डूइंग इट. कौन सा बेस्ट सूट होता है उसमें और कितना अच्छे तरीके से उसको प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो आप, सो वहां पे काफी सारा क्वालिटी डिफर कर जाता है. सो आई थिंक धीरे धीरे ये चीज आ रहा है, ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग आ रहा है लोगों में.
So I think in terms of visualization versus the actual final finished building, normally when we do the visualization in the beginning of the project, we go for like a holistic like massing concept and stuff, or like kind of a little bit detail. But in the end building project, if we pay enough attention to detail for that finished project, I would say like for the most cases, the finished projects should turn out better than the render because we have more detail going in there. But if the reverse happens, that means something is kind of going wrong in your design as well. Might be because maybe you didn't pay enough attention to detail about the, especially like talking about the glass facades and stuff, how you are actually specifying the mullions versus the construction. It plays a huge role on the look of the glass, right? And how accurately you're placing the glass panels and everything. So I mean,
Right.
it's like even if you do a very good render in the beginning, but if you do your if you do your due diligence for the design part of it and kind of execute that properly, your real building should look much better than your render for sure.
So if visualization is this important part of architecture, should students be putting more emphasis on learning these visualization softwares and